Pasta is cooking as the Boston Bruins roller coaster season continues.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoked B. Today is Friday, January 24th, and I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins part of your daily routine. It's free and available on your favorite podcast app, whether you use Apple, Spotify, Pocket Casts. It's also on YouTube, so please do smash that subscribe button so that you never miss a thing each and every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. On today's podcast, we're going to break down last night's 2-0 victory over the Ottawa Senators. David Pastrnak just absolutely on fire these days, and Joonas Korpisalo stepping up with a shutout performance, backed up not by Jeremy Swayman, which we'll touch on here in a moment as well. We'll also preview tomorrow's matinee against the Colorado Avalanche. Before we get into all that, a quick reminder, you can find the podcast on social media at Locked NHL Bruins. And you can find me, my hockey thoughts, dad jokes, at Ian C. McLaren. Now, over the last little while, we've gone back and forth about the Bruins, whether they're buyers, sellers, in, out, playoffs, lottery. The roller coaster continued after a 5-1 loss to New Jersey on Wednesday, one of the most discouraging losses of the season. One of many, I should add. The Bruins bounced back with one of their best performances of the season from start to finish with a 2-0 victory over the Ottawa Senators. And David Pastrnak led the way once again with a goal and an assist. He has 19 points in his past 11 games. There was a time not that long ago where David Pastrnak was tracking at below a point per game pace. He was looking at maybe like an 82 point season, 25, 30 goals. He has ratcheted that up in January. He's now on pace for 38 goals, 54 assists, and 92 points. Still a bit lower than what we've come to expect from him over the last couple seasons, but quite a rebound from how this season started. If you look at his point totals month by month, he had 10 points in October, 12 points. 10 points in October, 12 points in November, 15 points in December, and now he's got 19 points in January, and there's still 3 games to go. He's moved up to top 10 in scoring in the NHL in terms of total points. He's tied for 9th, tied for 11th in goals, 24th in assists, and we feel as though there's still another level for him to hit. And part of that is due to his line mates. He says he feels good out there. His game has come back. He's having chemistry with his line mates, Morgan Geekie and Pavel Zacha. It's important. The line's been playing the right way the last couple games. They're getting rewarded right now for the way they're playing, and hopefully they can keep building on that. And according to Connor Ryan of Boston.com, Pastrnak even said, "We can play a full 60 minutes with a focus and with good defense. And when we are dialed in like this and playing like that, I think we can beat anybody in the league." End quote. That seems like a real buyer's mentality from David Pastrnak. He's not interested in selling off pieces and retooling for next year. He's interested in winning each and every night, and he believes this team can do so. Now, you look at Pastrnak with how productive he's been in January. What did I say? 19 points, 10 goals, 9 assists. His 10 goals is more than Elias Lindholm has scored in the regular season over the past calendar year. if you can believe that. So there's still lots to be sussed out here when it comes to the Boston Bruins, but when their best player is on top of his game, as he has been as of late, then that's a good sign for the Boston Bruins. Now, a couple of these big performances have come in losses. He scored 2 goals in a 6-4 loss to the Toronto Maple Leafs earlier this month, 2 goals in a 5-4 overtime loss to the New York Islanders. But the Bruins have gone, they've won 4 of their past 6 games. They've picked up points in 5 of those games and are technically back in 3rd in the Atlantic, although we'll take a look at that more in depth here a little later on. So that was the big story last night for the Bruins. David Pastrnak remaining red hot, setting up Morgan Geekie with a beautiful goal to begin the game. And then he helped ice it later on with the empty netter in the 3rd period. 5 seconds left. A fantastic game for the Bruins overall as they got their first victory over the Senators this season with 1 more game left. Now, Ottawa was playing without Josh Norris, Jake Sanderson, 2 of their top players, but we can't fault them too much for that. They still went out and got the job done and played a gritty defensive game that was backstopped by Joonas Korpisalo, shutting out his former team, making 29 saves, his 3rd shutout of the season, and he said it felt great. Great for the whole team. Playing the game they did on Wednesday, in which he came in for the 3rd period, traveling back to Boston. Wasn't an easy turnaround, but the way they handled it was superb, and it was a big game for everyone. Now, Korpisalo was likely to get the start no matter what, but it should be noted that Jeremy Swayman was not on the bench to back him up. Michael DiPietro was recalled prior to the game, just at like 5 p.m., and it's an indication that maybe Swayman was pulled from New Jersey, not as a result of poor performance, although he wasn't super sharp in that one, but because something is bothering him health-wise. So we'll see today whether DiPietro remains with the Bruins. If Swayman is back, Joe Sacco said it was a bit of a nagging thing that hopefully will not keep him out of the lineup for very much longer because, of course, he is their best goaltender. He's a franchise goaltender, and they need him in order to be successful long-term. So, the Bruins, 2-0 victory last night over the Ottawa Senators. The big storyline, David Pastrnak's red-hot play. The Bruins picking up 2 important points against a team that's right there with them in the thick of the playoff race. And Korpisalo stepping up with a shutout over his former team as Michael DiPietro, who is an AHL All-Star this season, stepping up, backup situation. We'll keep an eye on that and bring you all the latest on the Boston Bruins on the YouTube channel, especially. I'll post some shorts there if there's any update on our boy Swayman and his injury status. All right, coming up, we're going to take a look at some stats and signals to take away from last night's game, and we'll check that here as the podcast continues. I absolutely love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, or comedy. And one of my favorite memories was attending a concert last year, going to see the Strumbellas. So fun. The energy and excitement was unforgettable. Now, Game Time has made it even easier to get tickets for your favorite events with their new feature called Game Time Picks. This feature filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. The Super Deal was particularly impressive, offering great seats at unbeatable prices. Plus, the app's all-in pricing shows the total cost up front with no surprise fees at checkout. You can also get a view from your seat in the app so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive at the venue. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, create an account, redeem code Locked On NHL for $20 off, because what time is it? It's game time. Let's take a look at some of the key stats and signals to take away from last night's game. For one, it was John Beecher's 100th NHL game. Congratulations to him. Pastrnak tied Marc Savard for the fourth most six-game assist streaks in team history. He's got a 5-game assist streak going on. He's got a 6-game assist streak going on. Marc Savard did it 5 times. Ray Bourque did it 15 times. Bobby Orr did it 10 times. And Adam Oates did it 6 times. So he can pass Marc Savard with his next, if he does another 6-game assist streak. Kind of a random stat there, NHL, but hey, let's run with it. Korpisalo has only 15 starts this season. It's the 5th fewest starts in franchise history to record 3 shutouts, which is pretty impressive. The Bruins have played 6 sets of back-to-backs, and they're 5-0-1 now in the second game of the back-to-back this season, which is incredibly important when you're looking at the playoff race and taking advantage of that kind of unfortunate scheduling. The Bruins were outshot in this one, 29-26. They did kill off 4 Ottawa power plays, although they did not score on their power play opportunities, unfortunately. Anton Forsberg in the other net was pretty strong. He only allowed 1 goal on 25 shots, but not as good as his tandem partner from last year in Ottawa. That was one of the worst goaltending tandems in the NHL last year, Anton Forsberg and Joonas Korpisalo. And both of these guys played some of the best games they have in them last night, allowing 1 combined goal between the two of them on 29, 26. I can't do the math right off the top of my head. That's like what, 55 shots. Oh my goodness. So what else can we take away from last night's game in terms of stats? Well, the Bruins, the most important stat last night, other than David Pastrnak with his streak and with his hot scoring, Joonas Korpisalo's shutout, the Bruins now have 54 points, which is good for 3rd in the Atlantic Division. But the important caveat there is that they've played 4 more games than the Tampa Bay Lightning. And Tampa's only 1 point back. So not exactly set up for keeping hold of that spot. In terms of the point percentages, the Bruins are well down the list. And we have a resurgent New York Rangers team who is back in the mix now. They currently rank 7th. Well, they're tied for 7th in point percentage with the Ottawa Senators and the Montreal Canadiens, both of whom have lost their previous games. The Rangers were once written off, but they're the defending President's Trophy champions, and you simply have to keep an eye on them in terms of the playoff race. They're back. And when you looked at the lay of the land coming into this season, you knew that Toronto, Florida, Tampa, they were going to be good in the Atlantic. You expected Carolina, the Rangers to be good in the Metro. Probably a bounce back for the New Jersey Devils, who added Jacob Markstrom, although he's out now for 4 to 6 weeks with an injury suffered the other night against the Bruins. The Capitals have come out of nowhere and become the top team in the conference. So that's like 6 or 7 locks potentially for a playoff spot, with 1 spot to fight for. Right now, the Rangers have a .542 point percentage, identical records to the Ottawa Senators and the Montreal Canadiens, 24, 20, and 4. Then you have the Columbus Blue Jackets at 541 in terms of point percentage. The 23, 19, and 7. And then the Bruins at 540. 24, 20, and 6. So technically, right now, they are 10th, even 11th, I believe, in the Eastern Conference. Let's count these up. Washington, Carolina, Toronto, Florida, New Jersey, Tampa, the Rangers, the Senators, Canadiens, Blue Jackets, Bruins. Bruins still 11th in the Eastern Conference in terms of point percentage and 15th in the conference in goal differential. So it's an up and down season so far for this team. And as encouraging as games like last night are, especially on the second end of a back-to-back, I don't know if it changes the outlook for this team all that much. There's increased rumblings about selling. There's increased talk of perhaps Brad Marchand being floated in trades. I saw that Mike Milbury on the radio the other day saying the only untouchables for the Bruins are Jeremy Swayman, Charlie McAvoy, David Pastrnak. Certainly those are your 3 cornerstone players moving forward. Marchand would be, but he's getting up there and he's an unrestricted free agent. So are you going to commit big money to him at this stage in his career? Or would you be better served trading him to a contender and getting some prospects or picks to build around moving forward? You had Fluto Shinzawa, The Athletic, this morning, even floating that an executive saying all bets are off. So when it comes to signals moving forward, yes, that last night's game was encouraging, and the Bruins have the potential to do damage each and every night. Any team can win on any given night in the NHL. And you look back at last summer, Don Sweeney looked at what he had and thought, we can improve this team, a team that won a playoff round last year against the Toronto Maple Leafs, pushed the Florida Panthers to 6 games, that they could compete even more by adding Nikita Zadorov, Elias Lindholm. You could argue the defenseman's been more effective than the forward, who's been put down to the third line at the moment. That might not have necessarily factored in the loss of Jake DeBrusk, who has played well for the Canucks, although he's cooled down a lot. Tell me if you've heard that story before. I don't know. I don't know what the path forward is, but I really hope they don't sacrifice futures, young players with potential in order to try to go for it again this year. Do not trade a first-round pick, first of all. Do not trade prospects for a quick fix, because I just took my van in for an oil change yesterday, right? That was what was needed. You always go in and people try to upsell you. Oh, you need an air filter. That will make your vehicle run better. You need these fluids. Like, keep your eye on what is ahead of you. All I need is an oil change and get back on the road. I'm not in line right now to upgrade. Maybe that'll come down the road. See what I'm saying? The Bruins right now just kind of need to stay the course. Do not go for the flashy quick fix, but really assess what they want to do moving forward and who they can build around, and maybe make some hard decisions in terms of sacrificing a Charlie Coyle or a Brandon Carlo. Heck, maybe even a Brad Marchand in order to have greater success here coming up in a few years. Not this year. This year isn't the year to go for it, I don't think. Anyways, tomorrow they play the Colorado Avalanche, and that's a game we'll preview here as the podcast continues. Are you ready for the NFL Conference Championships? Well, from the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. That's $300 to keep the action going. The FanDuel app is easy to navigate, and the variety of bets keeps every game exciting. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. No waiting around for your winnings. Whether you're betting on your favorite team or just looking to add some extra excitement to the playoffs, FanDuel has you covered. Visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, the Bruins are practicing here on Friday. They'll be back in action on Saturday with an afternoon game against a very tough opponent in the Colorado Avalanche. Let's tee that one up here for you. It is a 1 p.m. start. And the Avs, of course, are as dangerous offensively as any team around the NHL, led in scoring by Nathan MacKinnon. They also feature Mikko Rantanen. Those are their two best players by far. 75 points for MacKinnon, 64 points for Rantanen. Then there's a bit of a drop-off, 30 points for Casey Mittelstadt, just 29 points, actually. Now, the Bruins did beat Colorado in their first meeting this season back on October 16th. If you recall, Hampus Lindholm had an assist, and leading the Bruins to a win over Colorado in Denver. Now, the Bruins do miss Hampus Lindholm, to be sure. They're missing Charlie McAvoy, who has not played in over a week now. But again, David Pastrnak is cooking 11 points over his past 5 games, 4 goals, 7 assists. MacKinnon, over that same span, has 7 points, including 4 goals and 3 assists for the Avalanche. They've got a pretty good little goaltending tandem going right now. Mackenzie Blackwood was acquired from the San Jose Sharks a little while ago. He's got a .916 save percentage this season, 15-13-5 record. Colorado is coming in here not super hot. They're 4-4-2 in their last 10. They've lost 2 in a row, Minnesota and Winnipeg. The Bruins, as I mentioned earlier, have won 4 of their past 6. And those wins have come against Florida, Tampa, San Jose, and Ottawa. The shootout loss to Ottawa and the New Jersey Devils. Now, the Avs, again, a very good offensive team. They rank 8th in the NHL with 3.29 goals per game. Surprisingly, their power play isn't super proficient. They're 19th in the NHL, a 20.4 success rate. The Bruins, of course, still very bad on the power play, 30th in the NHL, 13.4. It was funny listening to the TSN broadcast last night. They were lamenting Charlie McAvoy being out of the lineup and that being a reason why the Bruins power play is struggling. Those of us who've watched this team night in and out know that McAvoy is likely not the answer on the power play. He had been replaced by Hampus Lindholm before he got injured. Mason Lohrei's taken over, and the power play has looked a little better under his guidance, and that's certainly one of the strengths of his game. I'm a huge Mason Lohrei truther, by the way. Do not disparage him. Yes, he's got some mistakes along the way, but he's a very, very good young defenseman. Now, and no, he should not be playing forward. Penalty kill, Avs are 15th ranked, 79.5%. The Bruins still 25th at 75.6%. Now, one area where the Bruins could take advantage is in the faceoff circle. The Avs rank 31st in the NHL. Bruins are 9th. So that's an area where the Bruins can gain possession off the draw and work a little magic from there. In terms of where the Avs sit in their own playoff race, they're not really running away with things. In fact, they're in the first wildcard spot in the Western Conference, trailing the Dallas Stars for 3rd in the Central Division by 1 point, although they've played 2 more games. Central is pretty loaded with the Jets, the Wild, the Stars, the Avalanche. You have Jim Montgomery's Blues making a push. They're only 3 points out of the second wildcard spot. So the Avs will certainly be looking to pick up 2 big points here on the road. Now, for the Bruins, they have this game to end what has been a very busy week, their 4th game this week. Following that, they will be off until Tuesday, where they will take on the Sabres in Buffalo. I've been promising, looking at the untouchables, immovables, and trade candidates here for the Bruins. We're going to do that next week for sure, as it's a lighter week in terms of gameplay. And we'll bring you all the latest here on the Black and Gold, because that's what we do here on the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. It's a PA day here for our boys, which means no school. So I don't know what we're going to do. Maybe head out to the new Chick-fil-A in the one town over. Cruise the mall, maybe. I don't really know what we're going to do. There's no real good movies out until next week when we're excited to see Dogman. Anyways, that's it for today's episode of Locked On Boston Bruins, my friends. Hope you've all had a good week. Please do take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Check out Locked On Fantasy Hockey next. And subscribe to Locked On Boston Bruins on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube if you have not already. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every single day.